petita papadon. Tell my story, I don't know. I just changed that guacamole. Striped up like I'm Tony. Nigga, leave me lonely. If you're moving phony, back up, you don't know me. Party like the rock and roll. Thick petita papadon. Tell my story, all I know. I just changed that guacamole. Striped up like I'm Tony. Nigga, leave me lonely. If you're moving phony, back up, you don't know me. I don't need that, ain't got a Hellcat, but I speed fast. Cause I run it double for double. Down the gas, yeah. Foot on the pedal, I'm dashing. Turn audio back to main attraction. I do the shit that they praying to do, yeah.
I'd like to welcome you to the Wild's Motherfucking Dreads podcast in the
world. Hey, y'all.
Hey y'all. Hey, we got good folks in the house. We got Wavy Owl, a big face you've seen on this multiple times. Fan favorite.
This guy's everywhere.
And you know what?
This guy's everywhere.
Sometimes he comes with brands that make clothing, and then sometimes he comes with artists.
And sometimes on his manager shit.
And you know, today he brought us an artist that some of y'all in the DMV may know by.
Havana Seoul.
Okay, so that's what I want to start at. The
yeah,
name.
This is always, okay.
Havana.
Like Seoul, Korea.
Just Seoul. It's just Seoul. Like, people get real hung up with the E in there. And it's just like, it's still just, you still say it the same way.
Okay.
It's a silent vowel type of deal.
Okay.
But it's spelled like that because that's the capital of South Korea.
All right, so let's tap into that. You know, we normally don't just do the music. We gotta get to know you as a person before you just.
Nah. Okay, so
tell us the story. How does it connect?
So Havana Seoul, I basically always say like it's in homage to my roots. So both my parents are mixed. My dad's Cuban and black. My grandmother immigrated here. My abuela, she immigrated here in her 20s. Like she fled Castro. She's like one of 8 kids. They all came here individually, like from Cuba to the U.S. So like my dad was born first generation. Like my abuela's like fresh off the boat, like like legit, like escaped Castro, like they all left like in the 60s and shit.
I was saying, cause like you know when they got here, it was just like if your feet were wet, you had to go back to Cuba. If your feet were dry,
then
you can stay in America.
You can get asylum, all that type of shit. So my dad's whole family, well, his Cuban side of the family, all like came over here, immigrated like one by one, and they're all from the islands, like my family history isn't deep in Cuba. It's actually like in Jamaica and Barbados and so like my dad's family's from the islands and then his dad is from Detroit. Okay. So like that's his black side. So like my dad was born in Detroit and then grew up like down here in the DMV. So that's the Havana part. And then Seoul, my mom's Korean and black and she was born in Korea. She was born in Seoul. And so like she is like a totally Americanized name. So if you ever see like my Twitter handle, my Instagram handle, it's Mi Young Yum. Mi Young is my middle name. It's also my mom's Korean birth name. So like that's a really like popular name in Korea, but it's like it's funny because it's like an old school name.
So it's like Gertrude or something.
Yeah, like it's like an OG name kind of. So but yeah, so Mi Young Yum is like based off of my middle name, and that name is my mom's Korean birth name, and my mom is Korean and black, and she was born in Korea. So my mom So, like, on that way, if, like, me and my brother are, like, low-key first generation, because, like, my mom immigrated here. She was an alien. Like, you know, like, she's one of those people that, like, had to, like, assimilate and shit.
So your granddad, was he, like, in the military?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so my dad's mom, so like my mom's mom was Korean and her dad was American military who ended up stationed over there after the war.
He stationed or he stayed? Because a lot of them niggas stayed.
I don't know. Question mark.
Okay. Well,
it's like
she said her mom's adopted, so we know this.
Yeah, my mom's adopted, so we don't know. So like
we don't really,
she's found like she knows her whole like maternal lineage, so she found her mom. It's like crazy ass story, but then like she doesn't know about her dad, and so like she's found his family like people are just basically like, this is who would have been over there around that time, but no one ever told us they had a kid type shit. So it's like a mystery there, you know. So like her dad is like maybe like one of 2 people, but like she's found like literally like her cousins type shit.
That's vicious.
But like literally also like DNA 23andMe shit.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's a long ass.
That's a long ass to get to your rap name.
Havana Seoul. And that's why it's Seoul. It's
normally
just still
niggas
Seoul.
are just young something, but shout out to you. Shout out to you. Shout out to you.
That's how we got there.
All right. Wow. I don't know how. Normally you don't follow up with something as epic as that. Like normally the name isn't that good, but that's a good one. So you said something a few times about like it being important, like the culture and whatnot. Listening to like some of the music, it seems to be very eclectic, very airy? Is that part of being from all these does that fit into it, or am I stretching?
Nah, yeah, I think like definitely like the being eclectic part is like part of it because it's like just taking influence from a couple different places, you know what I mean? So it's like growing up here like in the DMV, like in PG County, like that already like lends itself to
you got the flow down.
Yeah, like, but you know, like that, like it already gives you like.
I got some
there's
critique
certain,
of album
there's certain
critique.
things that is like just being in the DMV, like growing up, like influenced by like go-go culture, or you know, growing up like influenced just by like the fashion here and all that type of shit. Like that's gonna give me one perspective, but also like being in a house, like I said, where I hear stories about like what it was like in Cuba, or like you know, so I have a little bit different perspective there. And then it's like when people talk about Asians, especially black people talk about Asians mad foul, you know, and like it happens the other way around too. And so like also being there, like my mom high yellow, like if we being honest, like you know what I mean, like, and so it's like I also have that different perspective, so I feel like it just makes my music like more worldly, like just
world is a
off
good word.
bucks, but also just like because like having that be like my foundation in life, like I just feel like I'm very experimental in general, like you know I'm the type of person like I try most things like once, like I don't know, I fuck around with it, like
Now, you can't say something like that and not have me follow up. What's the craziest thing that you've only tried once?
Ooh.
Cocaine.
Cocaine and crack are not the same thing. We're gonna have a conversation about that later, but just know that.
You said once. Like
once. It's a safe space.
Once.
Niggas do
Dang,
drugs
I don't
here.
know. I've only done once, huh?
Niggas do drugs.
All right. Well,
But it's like
maybe not once, but what's the thing that you were surprised that you did that one time or for the first time?
I mean, it's like I don't like to speak in superlatives, so it's like, what surprised me? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm like a real curious person. Like, I'm the type of person they be like, curiosity killed the cat. It's
what's
like,
the most curious thing?
wildin'.
What's the most curious thing? Or the thing you were like, wow, I was wilding when I did that.
No, stop ducking the question.
I'm about to say, she keep trying to shift it. She keep trying to shift it.
I mean, like, I feel like, okay, so the first time I did acid, I was
love
like,
it.
I had already been up for like 24 hours.
Oh,
had
yeah.
already been like smoking, drinking, like rolling. And then like somebody, like basically a plug walks in with some acid at like 4 in the morning. And we like, shit, why not type shit. You know, that type of vibe. And then so we don't even like take the tab until like 7. So like 10 a.m. hits, we already been up for like, I don't know, 30 hours. And now we just awake for 2 more days at this point. Like, you know, so like shit like that. But it's like, it's not like, what's the craziest thing I've ever done? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just the type of person that's like, if it strikes me, like, I'm a fairly logical thinker. But it's just like, if I'm curious, I'd be like, why not? What's the worst that could happen?
All right, so like you said, if curiosity killed a cat, what's the thing that you almost got killed by?
That's hard. I mean, like, me and one of my best friends used to have a thing. It was like, we used to go out. Look, me and one of my best friends used to have a thing.
Nigga.
I was thinking maybe 2.
Right.
I got like 2. I got like 2 up
We
there.
would go out and be like, yo, if you didn't almost die, was it even fun? Like, I used to be wild, but it's like I always have my shit together. So it's like, unless you was right around, people just be like, like, you know, you never know.
Respect.
Sounds like fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. You need to hang out with rapper.
Like, I feel like I don't want to be the type of parent that like be telling the kid shit and they don't know nothing. It's like if I'm telling you shit, it's like, look, I did it one time and that shit was wild. Like, you know what I mean? I want to be that type of parent. I don't want to be the type of parent speaking from fear. Like, I'm a know-it-all. So it's like, in order to know some shit, you have to try a lot of shit too. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's different. It's like, we could read a book on like open heart surgery and that don't make you a fucking heart surgeon. You know what I mean? Like, you're not Ben Carson at the end of the day. Like, that's a different type of person. So it's like, I want to be the type of person that at least like, you know, like, oh, well, I've been in the operating room. I done held the scalpel or some shit, you know, versus the niggas just like, I don't know. I read a quote on it. Like, all right, you read a Wikipedia page. That's cute.
Touche.
You know? So, like, that go with everything, though.
I ain't mad at you. Havana Seoul. That's where the soul comes from. Ooh.
Yeah, you know, you gotta, like, and also, like, especially when it comes to the music shit. A lot of niggas be rapping about stuff they never did. Like, that's not my vibe. Like, you know what I mean? It's
so
like,
you really be towing guns?
It's like, I know how to use a gun. It's like, I don't be toting, like, it's like, do I tote a gun on a regular basis? No.
Okay.
It's like, do I know how to use a gun?
For sure.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that. It's like...
I was about to say, he wanted to ask that question.
No, for sure, because I was listening to that jump the other night when I was smoking. I'm just like, I'm definitely going to ask her about these gun bars. Because you never came off as like a...
But it's like, I come from a military family, though.
That's
you know what I mean?
reason,
So it's like, I don't even like... You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't have to like tote guns, but it's like, I grew up in an environment where it's like, at the very least, I know how to use a gun. Like, I've been to a range. Like, you know what I mean? Like...
They gotta get certified.
I know the basics, so. You know. Like, I'm not about to be like, oh, me and my shooters be out here. Like, it's not this. This ain't that. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't that. But it's like, also, like, don't play. Like, don't play with me. Like, let's not.
No, listen. I respect it
personally. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big gun fanatic.
We know. So let's tap into this music. This the project Doggy Bag EP. I just
name it Doggy Bag.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. There's no really connection, at least in my opinion, to like dog stuff, or maybe I missed it. Is this part of a larger thing?
Yeah. So like, really, what happened was like 2 years ago. So like, let's see. I dropped this project ATM. That was like an 11
before
track.
you finish, that's what I was gonna say. Was there a reason for like the gap? It seems like a really solid gap.
Really, I recorded ATM in 2017, and then what happened was we were in the mixing process of that, and my like good friend, like my childhood friend, he's like my engineer and producer for that project. His dad died. Like we wrapped up the project, and his dad died like a month later. Like and like awesome, like literally like awesome, like. I was at his house like the night before type shit, and his dad was in the hospital. He was like, "Yeah, I mean, my dad's in the hospital, but like." He had like sleep apnea type shit. You know what I mean? And then like the next day, I'm like at my parents' house or some shit. I'm talking to my mom and she's like, yo, like da 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 da. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I was just over there last night. Like what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And it was like some shit like that. So it was like, here we are working on this project, and then like some life altering thing happens. So then like mind you, we finished that project. Like we had finished that project in the summer of 2017. It didn't drop until like spring 2018. So like it was like 8 months later.
That's something you really should let people know, because I was gonna say that sounded far more rappy, or like far more like way of a different style.
Yeah,
like,
but so like that's why
it just seems so like so far from this.
It is, but it's also because like in time, it's like it also was like 3, 4 almost years ago, legit.
If you told me it was in 2018, I'm like, okay, but if you tell me it was done in 2017,
yeah, so like the project was done in 2017.
That's a different.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like so I did that so ATM 2017 came out in 2018, and it was like, okay, it had a very like distinctive like soulful narrative. The project was called At the Moment, so it was like basically like obviously ATM people think of money, but it's like at the moment where am I in my life? Like, okay, I have a college degree, I'm an adult, but what does that mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Like at the moment,
to be honest, you know what it sounded like to me? Like a fake Insecure soundtrack. Like it sounded like what an early person in their 20s would be like trying to rap about, telling you their perspective.
That was the vibe, because it was like, okay, I have
like
this degree.
that. To be honest, I like that. I like that.
Well,
ATM.
and so it's funny because a lot of people say like, okay, Doggy Bag, like, that's cool, but it's not a story. And like for me, I'm like, you want to hear a story? Go back and listen to ATM, because this ain't that. And that's why I feel like also like, but that's why I feel like off the J shit, you want the old shit, buy my old album. Like that's great. Like this ain't that. You know what I mean? So like how we get from ATM like very soulful, and like for one, my producer Nightingale, that's one who I said his dad had passed. And like this is my childhood friend. Like I known him since we were like in 4th grade type shit. Like so. He has a very like
every hour on the album.
My bad. I do intermittent fasting. That's my alarm for that shit.
I love it.
He has like a very soulful sound. He like he loves to like. So I had 2 producers on that project, Nightingale and Todd. And so like one of them, he loves to like go in the studio and he starts almost all his shit from like a sample. So he has all these vinyls, like popular joints, obscure joints. He just whips out a vinyl, play with some shit, and he'll like just sit there, cut it up. So that's how he starts his beats. So it was like ATM, like that was kind of the backbone of ATM. So it was like a lot of like really like soulful stuff, and that's why it kind of sounded like that. But then like, in the process of working on this like project, being in the studio with 2 producers for a long time, like 6 months. Like 6 months, we tap in 2-3 times a week. We in there 4 hours each. You know what I mean? Like niggas get off work, we plugged in. Like 7 to 12 type shit. 2-3 times a week type stuff for 6+ months. So it's like that's a very intimate working relationship. Like as y'all know, like doing the podcast, anytime you do something with somebody over a long period of time, it's like it's different. Like true. So it's like it was a lot of things that I learned about myself. There was a lot of things that like became questions. Like because there was one song on ATM, and basically I had to I originally had this YouTube beat. And it's like, mind you, I'm in the studio with producers though, and they like, nah, I hate, they just like, I don't like this joint. We not using none of this type shit. Say we're totally gonna redo this beat. But then so they redo the beat, and I'm just like, it don't hit the same. I'm just like, nah, it's not there yet. So I kept sending them back to the drawing board. It doesn't have the same essence that the original song had. Even with the same lyrics, all that shit don't feel the same. So then eventually Nightingale just he literally was like, I don't understand what you're trying to get me to make, because I'm like, I want some dark shit. I want some Travis Scott, I want some dark synths, I want traps, I want deep drums. I'm trying to describe it as best I know how, and he just it's just not registering. He's like, I don't know, because he on this jazzy vibe, he's literally I can't make that. So my other producer Todd, who so like I said, Nightingale, he loves to go in the studio, and the first thing he does is chop a sample. Todd comes in the studio, and his background is he's a musician by trade, so he knows how to play the guitar. He can basically teach himself any music, any sort of instrument. He's a virtuoso, but his main thing is strings, so guitar and bass, and he played in a lot of go-go bands in high school and stuff. So he has a totally different so when you go in this, so if it's just me and him in the studio, he's the type of person he'll be give me something, give me a melody, and then he'll start strumming that, and that's how he builds the song. So working with them individually is very different. So when it's all of us in the studio, it's kind of interesting environment, so with that, Todd kind of kicks Nightingale out the way, all right, some shit like this, and it's boom, some shit like that. But so I'm sitting in here realizing oh,
them niggas should collab.
But and they do collab. It's I knew Todd through Nightingale. It's I said, that's my childhood friend, and then they went to Hampton together. You know what I mean? So it's and then he was yo, I know this person that'd be perfect for this project type shit. So that's how I met them. But it's you just kind of realize even producers, everybody has their own style. Like I said, even the way they start off beats is way different. So straight from jump. So it's I realized a lot of things about myself, and just wondering oh, well, what do I want my sound to sound like? And realizing ATM was cool, ATM served its purpose, but I didn't feel ATM was my sound. So it's
interesting.
Right.
As we go through I dropped 3 tracks last year in 2020, Puppy Child and DDA, so kind of going into the dog, so y'all going back to how did Doggy Bag be Doggy Bag. So really after ATM, I had worked on this project, All Dogs Go to Heaven. And that's another full length project or whatever, the length of ATM. I had worked on that project, and at the time I was so ATM comes out 2018. 2018, I'm working on this other project, All Dogs Go to Heaven. Project's fire, but it's way different. It's not like ATM at all. Like I said, it's not jazzy. It's not soulful. It doesn't have that, totally different, much more modern feel to it, tighter drums, more synth, totally different vibe, sonically. And, so I'm working on this. At the time, I'm damn, I never made music this good. And to the point that I was I had to sit on that project for a while, because I was afraid, I didn't want to put anything out, because I was I don't know if I'm going to be able to top this shit. So I sit on this project, and I start, just working on all this other stuff. So in the process of that, that's basically how Doggy Bag came about. Because it was okay, I want to introduce people to this new sound, but I don't want them to be caught off guard, and I don't want to put out a full body of work, and then people what the
oh, so you have so this is just some shit you just giving us.
Yeah, this is just some shit. So really, Doggy Bag is some shit I did during quarantine. This is just some shit I did literally in the house. You know what I mean? By myself, not with any of my producers. All the beats I already had, so it was they were either YouTube beats or beats I already had sent to me. So this was some super insular, just and for me it's it's cool to do that, because I said, the process of being in the studio a couple times a week, these long multi-hour sessions, that's a totally different vibe than being tuned in by yourself and just in the studio by yourself. You know what I mean? So it's to me, Doggy Bag is, like I said, more of me finding my sound.
So
and,
can you send me the other joint, the full length? I want to hear it all, because
I can send you some previews.
Because that would be intrigued as to what. Because all right,
now this album makes more sense.
All right, so let's talk about this. Now let's get into it. So since you said this is more insular, this was more about yourself, and this is more personal. Who were you talking about on Mercedes, or did you have a certain person in mind when you were talking about her in the back of your?
No. Mercedes, you know, it's really a concept song.
Oh, concept.
But the thing about Mercedes was so. The funny thing is, so I guess we just like out of the 5 songs on Doggy Bag, so just going down the order, like Mercedes was actually a song I had since like 2017, 2018, because like, okay, right after I made ATM, I worked on this project called Rims, which I didn't end up releasing. So like I had dropped this visual
for it.
Do
you have in like?
I got a lot of music. That's the thing, and that's the thing.
Like, well, are you a hoarder?
Kind of, and that's like the thing I'm trying to grow out of, like, in just like, okay, you can't, because it's like, you can get better at something, but you can't get great at something without the full feedback loop. So it's like, if you can sit in the studio and make shit, you can play it for your homies, you can do all that shit, but if you don't play it for random third parties, it's like, obviously you're missing like a critical part of that feedback loop and growth. You know what I mean? So like, for me, it's like, yeah, I had to stop hoarding, because I got mad music, like even the new shit, like not even talking about, like, I have projects that are, like I said, like I have this joint, All Dogs, I have another joint that's done, and then I have like...
So Rims.
So yeah, Rims was like this concept project. It was a 4-track. It was just another short little EP. Mercedes was on that project. And so I had dropped this visual 29. Like, shit, I don't even know, especially with the pandemic. I'm like, all the years got fucked up. But I dropped this visual Playmaker, which is supposed to be like the beginning of like starting that rollout off. And like in the process of doing Playmaker... Is
that when you're in the streets?
That's when I'm like I'm in this vintage yellow North Face, and it's like, I'm like in a Jeff Gordon t-shirt and shit. And it was just like, it was a little quick video, like a little like minute and a half little joint. Yeah, it was like around, but like all the vintage, always. But and it was like a little quick joint. But so I had this joint, I had the project done. Like we had it mixed. And so I'm talking to my friends at the time, and they're like, yeah, like, Rims is cool, but you got better music than that, because I already had All Dogs, or like I was already like basically in the middle of All Dogs, and they're like, this cool, but like you got better shit, don't drop it. So I didn't drop it. So then Mercedes was this song that I just had that was never gonna come out. So like when it came to like, I was like, okay, like maybe we should put something out, you know. So I'm talking to Al about Doggy Bag, and then it's like I played Mercedes for him, because I don't even think he had heard Mercedes. Like Mercedes was literally like this joint I had that I was like, well, that'll just never see the light of day. And then I played it for him. He's like, wait, this is cool, like this needs to be on the project. And I was like, oh really? Because like I was literally not even about, I just played this for you, like because I was going through my like vault, and I was like, I forgot about this type shit. And then like, you know, it just ends up being the kind of perfect like intro to the project. It's real cinematic, like the beat builds in a real cool way.
We were talking about the sample at the beginning of it that we all enjoyed in particular.
That, well, yeah, like that's literally how Mercedes came out. And then go to the second track, Girla. That was a joint I had dropped, like, also, like, same shit, around the same time I made Mercedes, and I was working on Rims, and, like, post-ATM, I had made Girla, and really, Girla was my first, like, kind of foray into the more, like, ambient, like, how you, like, into that more, like, because I love that, like, there's qualities of, like, Trippie Redd and Juice WRLD that I really love. Like, I love, like, that rock shit. Like, when I, you know, like middle school, high school, like, I was listening to Good Charlotte, all that type of shit. So, I love, there's, like, something, like, a little bit of that rock aesthetic. I really love that shit. And I used to skate and shit when I was in middle school. So.
Like skateboard?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you could do an ollie?
I could do an ollie. I could do a kickflip. I could do, like, you know, all the little basic joints. I could, you know, just the little, I haven't skateboarded
So,
years.
you don't shred, but you do something.
Yeah, you know, I was, like, out here doing no crazy stuff. I can do the basics, you know, I can ride through the city. Like, I know how to, like, you know, build a skateboard and stuff, you know, all the basics. Like I said, like, I'm a tinker. I'm a curious person.
Little kick push.
You know, like, a little kick push, you know, on my Lupe. But,
So, Girla. We got Mercedes out the way, which is I feel the blend, the nod to the ladies. You know, shout out to you. But Girla, talk to me.
Yeah, so Girla, I did it also like around 2018. So like around the same time, like right after ATM, I was just kind of like, all right, well, what's my sound type of deal, you know? So I was really like kind of going back to the drawing board. Can I stop you for a second?
Why you make that voice?
Why not? I feel like, I don't know. It's just like,
that was funny. I just thought it was funny.
I be saying shit like that, and then sometimes I'd be like, damn, I said that out loud. But then it's like,
no, that's me all the time. But it's good to know there's more people like me out here.
I'm the type of person, like, I'll be like walking around and I'll make like sound effects. Like, I remember that should be fun because it just makes shit more fun. Like, run up the stairs.
It's just like it's like a movie. It's like a movie soundtrack type shit.
Yeah,
like
that's my
credits and real.
Yep.
Well, man.
That's how I be living my life. So. So yeah, you know,
this nigga Charles.
Girla, I'm like, oh man, what's my sound? You know, and I just kind of like, I just go in the studio, and one thing I realized was like, a lot of times like ATM and all this shit I was making kind of before that, like all my early music was really like, well, what do people want to hear from me, or like very much being like just kind of always thinking about what other niggas wanted. And like so Girl It was kind of like one of the first times I remember going in the studio like after ATM, after this, like I said, this very like intimate experience of like really working with like producers for like a year straight, like, and just like this being this like very like music as a group process for real, and then going back into my personal studio after that and just like playing around with shit. So Girl It was kind of like the first one I played around with. I threw it up on Audio Mac, and like Dinnerland, which is like like they do productions events like back when the world was open up in New York, but like they are like a blog, like they do a lot of different stuff up in New York City, and they used to have this like little weekly competition. They would put all these artists head to head, you know. So like a couple people from their team like just like they fucked with Girl It because it was on Audio Mac. It was just like a random joint I dropped on there, and it did really well. It got like 20,000 plays in like a couple weeks, you know. So it was just like. But it was just like a little quick joint that I dropped. Like I made that shit in my basement. I never went to nobody, so like I'm not a fucking engineer. Like it was legit, like a legit demo. But it was kind of the first time I played with that ambient sound. Like I said, it got really positive feedback. So I always felt like, damn, Girl It like needs to be done right. Like I need to get that joint mastered. So it was like, okay. I felt so like that's how Girl It ended up on here. So that's like Mercedes and Girl It were joints that were a little bit older that I felt like. Damn,
they deserve their time.
They deserve to get out. Like, why not? You know, if any songs
you got all, you fucking a hoarder.
You
so,
know,
I mean.
like, let me let those out. But then, like, the last three, Walk, Closer, and Many Face God were all joints I did in 2020.
I like all those songs a little bit more. But Walk, this is definitely a different sound. That's the DMV song to me, at least. That's where I hear your DMV flow, the DMV like
flow,
the run-on rap sentence. I'm not really a big fan, but you guys are gonna do it, so hey, I have to live here too. So
I was really listening to that Joan. I was just like, she's in the pocket. I fuck with it. And then the beat switch, and you just kept staying in the same pocket. And I was like,
the only reason,
that DMV flow.
Only reason why I'm okay with it, because you know my guy Heady One, that's his shit, and I can't be cap and be like I like that, and then not. So
I enjoy it because I fuck with this.
That's what I'm saying. I enjoy it, but I'm like, come on, you guys, you can do better. But you did something else before that, so I'm happy you didn't start with that.
Well, yeah, and I guess exactly, and like I guess for me, my thing is always like. Every song don't gotta be your song. Like, that's cool. And I think, like, some artists, like, and like I said, even, like, the way I used to make music before, I'd be very concerned with, like, oh, well, what if it doesn't flow with this? Like, fuck that. Like, nah, like, I'm gonna make, like, all right, maybe Walking Out the track for you. Like, bet. Maybe Many Face God is, you know, or maybe, like, another track is. Maybe you need to go bump ATM. Maybe Doggy Bag ain't the joint for you. Like, that's cool. You know what I mean? And I think, like, as an artist... to really like see growth, it's like you have to get outside of like just being offended that somebody didn't like said song, because it's like maybe you don't like this song but you'll like another joint I did, or maybe you just don't like me as an artist. I'm not your cup of tea, and that's cool too, my nigga. Like, bet.
Speaking of, not a fan of Walk, but Closer. That was actually the song I liked the most.
Okay.
So I
and
really
that's the
did.
one that I feel like most, like that's the joint that like I hear the most feedback. That niggas like, oh, like, you know, the whole project was cool, but Closer.
Yeah, I think that personally for me, it has like, to me it has your sound, but it also has like the same rap kind of stuff that I feel
in that pocket that
everything that I'm kind of looking for, and like I said, I like the ATM a lot more than this, so like it seemed like a little bit more of that. So I enjoyed Closer. I was like, okay. I was like, why couldn't the whole album be like this?
Well, yeah. So I feel like it's kind of interesting because especially like, okay, the last three we talking about the newer songs, so it's like on Walk, like it's more like that's more of an R&B pocket. Like there is, you know, like there is a verse on there, but it's like, and it is like a rap verse, but like kind of barely. And then like, yeah, you know, so like that's more just like Walk is a very like melody driven song. For sure. Where then you get to Closer and it's like. It's melody driven, but in a very different way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's less R&B leaning. It's more like it still has a more like the cadence is more succinct.
I'm curious. Are you going into these like really? Because these are really like descriptive, breaking down. Like it sounds like you're like a basketball player. Like yo, I did this play and that play. It's easy, like, when we're listening, because that's kind of what we're supposed to do, is, like, for you, are you going in with these intentions, like, yo, I'm going to make an R&B leaning, I'm more hip-hop?
Nah, and like I said, nah, because the thing is, like, for me, my thing is, like, I'm a very, like, meticulous person in general. I'm a detail-oriented person in general. So, like, for me, the thing I had to do was, like, just go back. Yeah, go back and, like, just make what's fun. Like, make some shit and then go back and then clean it up and then be like, what the fuck was we rapping? Like, we got to scrap that whole verse. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, when I go into the studio, like, I'll listen to beats and I'll catch my vibe. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I'll hear a beat, I like it, but I'll be like, this ain't my mood today. You know what I mean? So, I'll never work on something that I don't want to work on. And so, like, especially, like I said, Doggy Bag was really just me in my home studio. So it was like, I don't have the influence of going into a studio and producers playing beats and I'm not feeling none of them, you know, but it's like, I can't tell my mans I'm not feeling none of them, so we gotta pick one of them, you know what I mean? Like, because those are little things
you can
that,
tell
like,
your mans you ain't fucking
you
with them.
can, or, you know, I will, and I'll be like, nah, pull some more up, or like, I want to hear a little bit more of this, you know what I mean? Because at this point, I have that relationship, but like I said, that's an intimate relationship, but you know what I mean? So, like, with producers that I've been working for a minute, bet, like, nah, can we pull some, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna do that, and they know I am, you know what I mean? But if, like, say I go into a studio where I'm working with the new producer, he played 10 joints, and I'm just sitting there like,
it's work at the end of the day.
you know, and then it's like, but then exactly, and then sometimes that's cool too because you gotta challenge yourself. Then you go like, I wouldn't usually do this, but let me hop on this. But you know, if I'm in my studio and I'm just like, I'm gonna cycle through shit until I hear some shit I like. You know what I mean? And it's also like, I'll have mad drafts. So it's like, I'll have joints that I'll have like just a hook to, or just like a hook and a verse. You know, and then so like, I'll go in the studio and then I'll go back to those and I'll kind of like look through a list. So like at any given moment, it's like, I have all the joints that are like, that need to go to their first draft, that need a demo. And then I have joints in demos that are not done. You know what I mean? So it's like, I have mad music.
You have to stop hoarding. Like, your 2021 goal from Heiko to podcast is to stop hoarding.
Nah, for sure.
That's what we don't normally give out goals, but I'm giving you that goal. Just give it.
That's fair.
Even if it's snippets, like Freestyle Friday type shit, or like just
drop that shit.
give people something. Because I think you have a lot of good shit, but I feel as though like, how can we know what you actually have?
Well, and that's why I said, like, and that's why I was like, the other part of the feedback loop.
Yeah,
like, you could be great, but you only so great if you don't get the exposure and if you don't get the critique and if you don't, like, let niggas hear. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
that person can be funny. Like, because, like, one thing I fuck with this album, even though it's not really, like, what I usually listen to, my type sound, I fuck with it because it's, like, it's very free. And you can tell. Mm-hmm. Like, you can tell.
No song sounds the same.
At all. And then it's just like, bro, I'm talking my shit on this jump. Like,
and more than anything else, that's what I wanted it to be, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this project wasn't supposed to be like super cinematic. It was just supposed to be like
some shit.
This is the moment. It's like this how I'm feeling.
14 minutes. I was just like, oh, she's just getting her nut off like quick.
And that's that exactly.
So speaking of bars, there's a few things you said. You said something about not having any OGs and having to look up to yourself. I forget what song in particular that was. I found that interesting.
It's on Closer.
Wow, that really was my favorite song. Why? That was like, wow. That's like, normally people are like, I have a friend named Chini who, that used to be his thing. I don't have no OGs. I look, and I was like, oh, we all kind of have OGs. Mm-hmm. But like, it's interesting to hear someone in particular say that on wax, like, because, you know, rap is big about, like, you know, looking up to homage and shit like that. Yeah, paying homage. So I was curious when I heard that kind of was like,
Well, it depends what do you mean by OGs, you know what I mean? Like, so for instance, it's like, I have role models, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up with parents who, like, do cool shit, and I have grandparents that did cool shit, X, Y, Z, and, you know, all these other, like, you know, people that are, like, parent figures in my life. I got all of those people, sure, cool. But in terms of, like, OGs, like, growing up, I didn't know nobody that did music, you know what I mean? Like, I had to go seek that shit out. I had to, like, even, like, up until I was working on ATM, I was recording up in Philly and Jersey because, like, that's where niggas I knew that made music were. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of, like, I used to be up there so much that people thought I lived there back when I used to do music. I used to do as many shows up there as I used to do down here. So it was like, I never had no music OGs. I didn't have nobody, like, everything. And that's why even, like, it's a long journey. And I think a lot of DMV artists experience this because it's like, you don't have, the music we grew up on was go-go. Go-go culture is still around, but it's way different than how it was when we grew up. And so it's like, there's a lot of hip-hop artists now, but we don't have the same infrastructure that cities like Philly have, you know, that cities like New York or Atlanta. We don't have the hip-hop infrastructure. We have music infrastructure. We got mad music history, you know, all the way to U Street, you know, like, super, like,
Black Broadway.
Exactly, like Black Broadway, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of history, and it's like, DC has a lot of music history, even like shit like 930 Club, like, that's a legendary rock venue. But in terms of, like, hip-hop, we don't have that sort of infrastructure. So, like, when I say, like, I don't have no role models, I had to be that. Like, it's like, because I didn't have no music role models. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything I know music-wise is, like, mostly shit I taught myself. Or shit I sought out people for.
Okay. I'm glad I got the explanation on that. You said something about Livingston Road in one song.
Yeah.
And
Many Face God.
Yes, I like that
That's
song
the
too.
slide.
And that is, I don't know, for some reason I feel as though like I maybe have been on Livingston Road. I
feel like if you ever been in Fort Washington,
yes, it's Fort Washington. Okay, I
if
do
you
it.
ever been on the south, like the southern side of PG County, you've been on
So I do
Livingston Road.
Livingston Road. Okay, all right. So I was just like,
so like the joke
That's
about
a long
like
ass road.
it's kind of like it's like an inside joke because like Livingston Road is like low key like 5 roads. So like you could be like all the way like in Accokeek, like damn near close to Waldorf, and you on Livingston Road, or you could be literally like off of Southern Ave, and that's Livingston Road.
Sure.
And so like literally like I don't even know how it, like Livingston Road runs for like 20 miles.
on some Central Ave shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that. Exactly. It's one of those sort of things,
Central
like
Ave,
301, where it's just like you could literally like be in Bowie on 301, or you could be in Waldorf on 301. Like, and so like Livingston Road's not like quite that big, but it's like you could be in a lot of different places, and it's Livingston Road.
I found that very cheeky, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so that's just kind of like a little something, you know, like that's like some inside shit, because it's like if you grew up anywhere near that area, you're very familiar.
Like I said, I've been on Livingston Road. I was like, okay, that's an ode to your Southern Maryland Fort Worth. Shout out to your folks out there.
For sure. Southside PG, what's up?
I enjoyed that. And can I think of the other bar that was off the top of my head that maybe I cannot. I've been listening to a lot of music today, but I don't know. Many-Faced God, what I would say about that was gave me the most Travis Scott feel. I heard you say something about Travis Scott earlier, and that I feel as that was like not whispering, but I feel that was like a bit of the like like the kind of darker, the raw.
Like I said, I like that menacing side. I like that dark side. Even like music, like outside of hip hop, it's like I like a lot of like I like alternative rock, but I really like even like when you get into like more ambient shit. Like
you like the Limousines?
Yeah, I like a lot of like. I like music that tests like its sonic boundaries. You know what I mean?
So
it's
you
like
love Yeezus.
I love Kanye because I appreciate how Kanye will be so wholly dedicated to a moment in time, and then also be so like being like, and I did that. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way I think about Doggy Bag. So I'm like, if Doggy Bag's not your cup of tea, okay, maybe ATM is, or like maybe neither one. Maybe it's one in the future. You know. But for me, it's like I never want to get tied to something as an artist, because then it's like once you get tied to a sound, then there's an expectation. If you like, so somebody like Kanye, every time you kind of got tied to it, you know, like niggas was like, oh, he does the soul shit, 808s. What? You know, like he fucked up everything you thought you knew about him. So it's like I appreciate artists that can like be very like, this is what I'm doing right now, and then be like, and I was cool, you know, and now I'm doing this. And, you know, I would never say I've been, like, that, like, cut out, like, to go that, like, deep into one certain sound. But I really appreciate that about an artist like Kanye. Because it's, like, he's so wholly giving of himself. And then, like, you know, very much able to move on. It's like when, you know, like, you were in a relationship and you like, I did everything I could have done. Like, you just be good. You be good. You know what I mean? Like, you be like, well, and that was fun.
Respect. You sound like this artist I've been listening to recently named Amari. I think that's her name, from Atlanta.
Okay.
She has some of the same sort of just like sonic sounds, because they were like, I remember talking to Mook. He was like, this isn't nothing like I ever listened to. I was like, I hate to say, but this is definitely I was like, this is definitely some shit I listen to. So like,
because it came off like,
but
very,
you know, it's
no offense, but it came off very Deja Loaf, and I was just like, but it's just
I like my Amari.
I
like my Amari comparison.
And so like the Dej Loaf thing is something I've gotten a couple times. Like, but even like years ago, like on ATM, you know, I was getting like Dej Loaf comparisons. But it's like,
I felt that more on that.
It's like
it's literally just a pitch of your
very
voice.
much like we have I think we have like similar sounding voices, and that's about it. And I think like especially like you think about even when Dej came out a couple years ago, it wasn't. So like outside of like the pussy rap, it's not a lot of female rappers. You know what I mean? It's like pussy rap, Young M.A. Like, and that's like, that's,
Rhapsody,
you have Rhapsody,
no name.
and then you have No Name, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like pussy rap, and then you can run off a short list, and then like it kind of ends there. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like,
so let's talk about that.
There is this growing section of like this kind of like woozy, this more vibey like lane of female artists that I haven't heard of Amari, but like it sounds like she's in that lane. You know, I would say like people like Cody Shane was in that lane. Yep. Cody hasn't, like, I haven't heard anything from her in a long time. Cash Page is in that lane. But you know,
that
just
song
like,
London.
So, like, I kind of felt
I like that song. That
when
song
I started like developing the sound,
that's
less her, cause I wouldn't. She don't. To me, Coyle Ray don't have like her melody is not like I don't know. She's not quite as R&B leaning. I would say she'll go like she's more like
trap or
to the
rap,
pop or like like more of that than like to the R&B side. Where I would say like most of these other artists.
So let's talk about that because I wanted to get into like the state of woman rap, female artists, because you tapped into it. I'm glad you brought it up. So now I don't have to feel like a dickhead.
For sure.
With that being said, where do you feel like the lanes? Do you feel like the lanes are as direct as you say, or as succinct? You were like, there's pussy rap, and then there's this over here. Do you think it's just that cutthroat pussy rap? Or that over there.
And you're a female rapper.
Well, it isn't. It's that cutthroat in the sense of like, at the end of the day, pussy rap always sells. So you talk about what's gonna get picked up by a label. You wanna get signed? Bitch, you know how to get signed. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like that. So it's like you can pick, you can be like, you can be an artist, you could be like, this is the type of sound I wanna come into. Like I said, I've spent years honing my sound at this point. So it's like, you know, and I've sat with A&Rs. I've had like, you know, certain meetings and XYZ. But it's like if, you know, somebody said like, yo, yeah, we'll bring you in, but you gotta like, you can keep the name Havana Seoul, but we gotta do XYZ. Like, you need to start wearing heels and, you know, like fuck that hoodie and take the beanie off and we're gonna do this. You know what I mean? Like when they start, like that's not even me at this point. But you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, if you want the bag, if you just want to get on and you be like, well, you know, after 2 albums and this, after I get out of this initial contract, I'll go back and do the shit I want to do. You know, so it's like. I feel like it's divided in the sense of like, exactly, if you want to get on real quick, pussy rap, boom, and you don't have, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it's like, that's pop music. You don't need a lot of substance for that. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's niggas that are making the equivalent to that too. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like, so
that would just be my thing.
I hate even saying pussy rap, you know what I mean? But it's like, you know
no,
the shit.
But we
everybody know the shit.
To be fair, we called it mumble rap. We called it mumble rap for literally half a decade.
But yeah, like,
so
that microwave music, like, you know the shit that's gonna get on. You know, like, what it would now, I would say was like the TikTok music. Like, you know the music that's gonna set TikTok off.
Yes.
That's its own music.
That's a good point. I like that.
There's a lot of like women artists outside of that, but I would say like it's much harder for any of us to get signed. Even like literally, Ahmad, who runs this magazine, Kazi Magazine, and he also works for Pusha T's imprint. He's a publicist, and he tweeted some shit today. Ahmad Davis, he was literally like, everybody running off with Dej Loaf's sound, and like except for Dej Loaf or some shit, and then like, you know, like facts, but also like whose fault is that? Because Dej was ahead of the curve.
Way.
My thing about woman rap in particular that always boggles my mind is that it's not the idea that pussy rap always sells, is that they seem to just be able to do multiple things. So like, for example, like Megan Thee Stallion, like her greatest hits are pussy rap, I guess, in particular songs, but she's able to do all these other things. Like, she's able to kind of make these.
Charismatic and she can still rap, and I think like that's the
thing.
Her
freestyles is what keep her.
I was gonna say but like yeah, so like even with that, it's like Megan, like
but
there's
even
still people, but like this goes back to like, are you a pop star or are you a rapper?
Because
there's pop stars. There's a lot of pop stars in the like pussy rap lane that are pop stars. They're not rappers. Megan's a rapper. You know
but
what I mean?
Even Cardi, like when Cardi started,
look sexy, but she is a rapper.
But even when Cardi started, it was never pop. Like, cause I remember I randomly went to go listen to what's the Gangsta Bitch Volume, whatever.
You're wildin'.
I randomly went back to.
And I did listen.
And
I heard one of the Cardi tapes before she like popped off too.
There's no pop here.
No.
This
was wrong.
This is gutter.
But that was also Cardi in the strip club.
Straight blood shit.
So to me, it's like, why when she gets to cross over into quote unquote pussy rap, is that she seems to be able to like make the album when she did, where it was different types of songs. Like there's the Ring for You song, you know, but then she has like certain songs that are like not Bodak Yellow, but at least
it's a couple things. So on one hand, it's like, for one, at the end of the day, Cardi's still Cardi, and at the end of the day, like Cardi has personality. Like, you know what I mean?
So damn,
that's like even like I auditioned for Rhythm and Flow, so it's like I can say this. I met Cardi, like. You know, so it's like she has personality.
So to be so you trying to tell me to be a female rapper? Hold on.
That's a whole other story.
You can't just do that.
Listen, we'll get. Listen. Keep that in your pocket. But listen, my thing is that like, are you not allowed to like? are you not allowed to not be sexy and still be able to just be a rapper? Like, that's my thing. Like,
you absolutely are. That's what I'm saying. Some people occupy that lane as well, but I would say a lot of people in the pussy rap lane are not rappers. They're pop artists, and that's cute, and that's cool, and that's its own thing. And that's what I'm saying. There's very few of those people that can give that sex appeal and that can rap their ass off.
So now I gotta ask you about somebody. What do you think about Doja Cat?
Doja Cat's a pop star, but Doja Cat's pen game is heavy, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not talking about Doja like, oh, she's a pop artist, like, oh, the fault because he's
so
playing
she's more
around.
Drake than like other guys.
I'm not gonna say she's a Drake.
I'm not talking about as far as the hits, but I'm talking about the idea of being.
Doja makes really good music, and she's problematic, and she's the type of person like she's like.
But I think her pen.
She reminds me of like a Wale or somebody like, oh no, please stop talking. Like,
but
your music is amazing, but please stop talking.
But you know what's
like,
different?
I don't want to hear you talk because
but you know what's different between everything you said with everybody, all these other people. You mentioned her pen, and that would be my only caveat to some of these things. Like, I think as long as your pen is nice as a woman artist, I don't care about necessarily the subject matter. For sure. That's my
and I think that's fair.
And I think that's my one thing I will caveat with Megan. I believe enough in her pen that I'm okay with some of the body yada shit.
Same, exactly. Yeah, because it's like, hey, at the end of the day, like, once again, going back to like,
I hate that song. I heard that shit on the radio today.
But going back to what sells,
shit is horrible.
That's a great radio track because like body yada, you know, everybody got that joint.
It's a Gap song. It's for
Sure,
Gap.
it's TikTok. It's a commercial joint. You know exactly what it is. But guess what? You know the fucking words.
You suck.
You don't want to know the words, and you know the words. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, that's a great pop track. But like yeah, like somebody like Doja Cat, like she has a strong pen. Like not just like bullshit writing or like writing just to write, but like Doja can write real songs. She has really good music.
That's what I was saying.
I'll give you that.
Filling conversation. We don't normally get women artists to come in here and break down the landscape. So this is cool.
You're our first woman rapper.
For sure.
Cool.
You're breaking history on this jump.
You know, I'd love to see it.
Let's make some noise.
Mook has a question about rhythm and flow, though.
No, for real. You just skipped over that joint earlier, talking about, I auditioned for rhythm and flow and all this, all that. Like, that's not slight, bro. Like, that's low-key an accomplishment.
I mean, like, I don't feel like it's an accomplishment because I didn't end up being on the show.
Let me explain myself. You are a DMV rapper.
Facts.
We are known for go-go. We are not known for artistry, instrumentation, and things like that. And you made it to a contest rap show. And even though you did not make it, you were probably the only or one of the only people from the DMV that auditioned for that joint, and you are a black woman.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's an accomplishment, champ.
Thank you.
Already. So it's just like, can you please tell us about how that happened? how you even got how you...
Sure. All right, okay. So let's see. Rhythm and flow. So boom. You know, I'm like a Twitter nigga. I love Twitter. I think Twitter is like the funniest app ever. It's the best. Period.
I hope they don't charge us.
Like, yeah, hopefully. But mind you, but I'm a Twitter person, but Instagram, you know, has been like very beneficial just to like. Instagram
Facebook
is really beneficial for like connections and shit and like networking. I'll say that. Like, you know, I've gotten definitely like a couple ops off of Instagram. So like literally one of these ops one day, like I just get a DM from this TV producer out in LA, and he's like, yo, like, you know, we're working on this hip hop show. And so like, mind you, at the time where I first got contacted by the producers for the show, so like they tell me the like production company.
Hit you.
One of the producers hit me up.
Okay.
So when the producer for the show hit me up. And like they were a production company, and like most of their credits were like I think they did like a lot of like the Unsung series, like they did a lot of like Viacom work.
Okay.
You know, so like I already see like, okay, like y'all are legitimate, y'all got bad credits, and you know, so they're like at the time it's like, yo, we're working on this hip hop show, we're doing auditions, and so at the time like this was. At the time they were doing auditions, so let's see, this would have been late 20. Fuck. My years are all fucked. The pandemic really fucked my years up. Because I'm like, I don't even know it was like a year
18.
ago, 2 years ago. So let's see.
Was it after or before ATL?
This would have been... No, I'm trying to think. Let's see. So it would have been after ATM.
It came out like...
So this had to be 2019.
It was like two
So that had to be 2019. Okay, so fall 2019... This is so strange, though, because I'm like, is that right? No, I think fall 2019.
The show came out in 2019.
When did the show come out, right?
It came out 2019.
It was 2019?
Late 2018. One of them.
I don't know.
I know, that's why, like, time is really fucking me up.
That's what
okay,
Google's
let's
for.
say, okay, 28, I feel like it had to be 2018, right? Because the show had to come out in 2019. So, okay, 2018, late 2018, I go to LA. So, like, the producer already contacted me, like, yeah, send me your shit, like, da-da-da-da. I'm already in contact with them. So, around the time that they're doing auditions for the show, I was already about to be out in LA. So, I'm like, oh, actually, I'm about to be
October
out in LA.
9th, 2019 is when the first
Okay, yeah.
episode
So,
aired.
this would have been 2018. So, fall 2018, I'm out. I've already been contacted by the producers. They're already doing auditions. I'm going to LA, so I'm like, oh, bet, I'm about to be in LA. So they're like, bet, just pull up to the office, like, just pull up to the studio. And so, like, I did it on site. So, like, a lot of the auditions for Rhythm and Flow were, like, just taped auditions. You know, people sent them in. Like, there was, like, a online submission form. But because I just ended up being out in LA.
You met with the people in person.
Yeah, so I went to their office.
And you was just trying to skip over this shit.
I met, like, a lot of the production staff. So, like, obviously, like, you know, niggas that were local could obviously go to the office, but a lot of people, and it was like, you know, they're taking submissions from all over the country, so a lot of the people didn't meet them. So, it's like, mind you, I met the producer that originally sought me out there. I met, like, 3 or 4 other producers on staff, you know, so, like, I met all of them. I interviewed in the office, you know, I take me in, they got, like, the big-ass camera, you know, straight up, like, one of those boys, you know, and they got all the lights, you know, set up, like, boom, these are the prompts, da-da-da-da-da, you know, they run through it like that. So that happens, that's like October. So like maybe like December. So December I get a call back, or like, yeah, this would have been October. So December I get a call back and they're like, yo, you made it to the next round. There's gonna be an audition up in New York. So like, mind you, this is the taped one. So like, this is the one that so like the New York audition was Cardi, Fat Joe, and Jadakiss. And so like that was that audition. So like, but like mind you, it's like on the show they like, yeah, you know, like it'd be fucking TV, so they'd be like, yeah, we just found these rappers on the street and they said they rap, like, and we brought them on the show. Like, no, bitch, like, no, niggas went through, like, basically, like, 3-4 rounds of auditions before you get to this taped show. That's the first audition. But that's just how TV goes, you know, so, like, even, like, before that joint, it's, like, we've already taken, like, 400 question assessments. So, like, to be on reality television, like, any of these things, they make you take, like, a psychological exam. Because, like, they trying to put the most craziest people, you know, they're trying to put the most volatile personalities on TV. So, like, especially for these reality shows, they're literally trying to see, like, okay, this bitch look a little unstable. Like, exactly. Shorty look a little emotionally unstable. Definitely her. You know, like, that's how it goes. So, it's, like, it was funny auditioning because, like, even though, like,
end of the day, we got to sell.
My background's in journalism and I work in media, but it's, like, I don't work in TV. So, it's, like, funny, like, doing that type of shit and then being like, oh, TV really beat TV.
Look at you.
You know, so like TV really beat TV, so that should be mad funny. But then so like, yeah, like, so you have the New York audition and it's like so it was at SOBs. So the New York audition was at SOBs, legendary, you know, club in New York. And it's cool, obviously, like, so you get there, it was like an early call, like we got there like 9 a.m. So like, but the cool thing is, this is what I'll tell y'all, the Netflix budget, endless. Endless. Like, Netflix got so much money it don't make sense. So like, mind you, all the contestants, so like, I don't remember how many submissions there was, but so like, even so like for the people that made it to this basically like final round of the final round was like 120 people or something like that. And then like, so like, yeah, like 20 people made it on the show from each city. So it was like what, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, LA, I think, were the 4 cities. So like, yeah, so like each of these cities, like, so let's say Netflix brings in 100 plus people for this final joint. They fly everybody in there, like, bring everybody up on the train. You know, they've housed us and all that type of shit. And it's like basically 2 days of audition. So like, you know, you got, like I said, you got to take the psychological exam, you got all that shit, and you have like the actual performance day. But so like performance day, you like, it's weird because like we had a mad early call time and then we kind of had like a dry run. Everybody like ran through like what it's like, okay, this is how you're gonna walk on, this is where the cameras are gonna be, you know, these are where the gimbals are gonna be flying, don't like pay attention to them, XYZ, all that type of shit. We had a little dry run through and then like it was a mad waiting time. So let's say we do this at like 9-10 a.m. and then
but
like
you're not saying to like
most niggas not auditioning until like 5-6. Like I was in like one of the last 5 people to audition for that interview, so I was leading that bitch all day. And so like they kind of had like 3 waves of us, you know. So it's like, okay, the first wave's gonna be brought in, and they kind of like, and then there's like a green room. So it's like we were being like, so like after everyone did their dry runs, you like went to this other place, like back at our hotel or whatever. They had like, you know, one of the banquet rooms or whatever, one of these conference rooms type of deal. And then like each wave would be in. So like that wave, they would be in the green room in SOBs, and they had it all lighted up, all kitted up, and they were doing a lot of B-roll. So, like, in the auditions, you see that room a lot. And so, like, what I will say, so, like, for the most part, it's cool, but there was definitely somebody in the room who was an actor, and that was planted there. That was planted like a contestant. But, like, you can tell because, like, niggas be trying to, like, jive up conversation. And, like, so, like, mind you, niggas back in the niggas are back there, and they're, like, trying to ask people, like, yeah, well, what are you rapping for? Like, they try, like, it's real TV shit. So they're trying to get people to talk about this deep shit. Like, oh, well, my cousin went to jail, so I always knew I would do that. Like, they're really, like,
this
looking.
Is his story.
Like, little bit legit. Like, so, like, that's the type of shit they're trying to, like, prompt people. So there's literally a person back there, and so, like, at first, because we don't think everyone's a contestant. And so after a while, me and this one girl sitting back there, we're like, wait a minute. I don't think this person is, like, I'm pretty sure this is an actor. Mm-hmm. And so we're sitting there, we're going through the whole thing, everybody auditions near the end of the night. And then this dude's like, yeah. So, like I said, I was one of the last people to audition, like, in the last 5.
Motherfucker, you ain't going to the room yet.
Nah, so, like, mind you, we get to the end of the night, and it's like, and they're telling us, like, like, yeah, the last person's going to go at 8, like, we're real close. Like, niggas are tired. It's been a long production day, legit, all day. And so this dude's like, yeah, so, I'm not going to get to audition tonight. And we just like, yo, this nigga's really a plant. Because it's like, you was here all day, you niggas was stirring up the conversation, and then all of a sudden you don't get to audition? Mad sus. Like, they planted him. He was absolutely an actor. But yeah, TV be TV. Netflix got the endless budget.
Shout out to Netflix.
Cardi B called me sexy. So what I'm going to say, so I did my
Cardi B called you
audition.
sexy. No, fast forward. Fuck all that. What Cardi B say?
Nah, so I did my, so like, okay. It's like, I did my audition or whatever. And they're not fucking with it. And so, like, so this was the other part. So, like, for all the beats, so, like, when I did the joint in LA, it was an acapella. And so there's this verse I, like, used to spit, like, when I would do a lot of my shows back when the world was open, there was this verse I would commonly spit.
I'm gonna keep saying that. The motherfucking world is open.
Never finished.
But so like there was this verse I'd always spit, like this acapella verse, and the verse go up, and then so like I did that for their audition. Boom, they love it. But so like when you do the TV audition, they give you they gave us basically a pack of beats. 20 beats, but like the most trash beats you ever heard in your life, like super terrible beats. And you have to pick one of these beats. And so, like, mind you, at the time when after I know I made the audition, they sent over the pack of beats. I write a whole new verse to one of the joints on there. And they're like, nah. Use the joint you had from the other audition, but on one of these beats.
Not in the same cadence, champ.
Exactly. So it's like one of those things where it's like, now I'm trying to retrofit this verse to a different beat. And it was just trash. And so, like, mind you, also during the auditions, like, mind you, it's only 20 beats. So during your audition, you hear people do your beat. And it's, like, kind of weird because it's, like, interesting. I didn't look at the beat like that. Or, like I said, in my case, where, like, I sent a new verse, and they were like, nah, do the other joint, but on this beat. And it's just, like, so it was, like, a lot of little weird shit. And I wasn't the only one because it was, like, a big thing that all the contestants... So what I will say was, like, what was cool about it was kind of, like... It was like rap, like summer camp or some shit. Because like 100 rappers in a room and everyone's like, yo, where you from? Like, da-da-da-da, what type of shit you do?
Trying to make sure you're not the plant.
Not right, you're not the plant. But yes, like in terms of like the other contestants and shit, everybody was mad cool. Like even the niggas who was on the show, I was like, oh no, like, like I interacted with them. They're cool peoples, you know what I mean? But so like, but the show, TVB, like all the contestants were really cool. It kind of felt like super, like I said, it was like summer camp because it was just like a whole bunch of rappers sitting in a room and niggas, like beating on the table like it's like 5th grade, like lunchtime type shit. It's like imagine you in a room and it's like it's 100 rappers in this room and niggas sitting there beating on the table, freestyling. All right, next person go. Like that was the vibe. So like all of that was real cool or whatever. TV be TV.
Cardi B calling you sexy though. Let's focus on what's important.
So I do my joint. I get to my joint. Like I said, I had to like retrofit this verse onto this beat. Shit's awkward. And so they're like, so I think Cardi starts talking first and she's like, I don't know. She does her little weird sounds or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it, but you're sexy. And then it goes to Jadakiss and he's like, yeah, like basically like Jadakiss and Fat Joe were not feeling it. And then
Spitters.
But it's not even like spitters because the verse was like a verse, but it was like the type of thing where it was like,
what are you saying over this? Why are you saying this over this?
But it was just one of those things. It was like, what fucked me up? So like, okay, mind you, if you look at that New York audition, I think like almost every girl that made it through on the New York audition was like a Latino woman. So it was like, okay, you got Cardi on this joint. Mind you, this is like 2018 when this audition, early 2019, because it would have been January 2019 when the audition happened. I think like let's say like 8 girls made it from the New York audition. Let's say 6 of them were Latina. And so it's just like, okay, y'all were looking for a very specific thing, which was another Cardi. Like, let's just call a spade, and that's cool. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's talented. You know what I mean? Like, out of the women and the men on there was talented rappers. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody on there was cool. Like, niggas, nobody was in there acting like an asshole type shit. And like, mind you, there was people in there that had already had like Grammy noms. So like, that was the other part too that was interesting, because you have people in there.
The nigga that won.
Exactly. Like, but so like, and then that makes it interesting too, because like some shit like this.
I was gonna ask. I was like, did you know that he was?
So we didn't know. No, but like. At the time, so like, mind you, like I said, I did the New York audition, so we don't know what's happening in the other
so
cities.
He didn't do.
We know, no. So like,
he didn't come to
each
LA
city,
for that audition.
No. So like, mine was in New York. That one was LA, and then there was an Atlanta audition, and there was a Chicago audition. All those auditions are happening like a few days in between each other. So like, I remember when we did the New York one. I think like two cities had already gone. So I want to say like Atlanta and Chicago had already happened. Then it was New York, and I think LA was like the last one or some shit. But it's like all of them happened in very close proximity, like basically the same like week and a half, 2 weeks. So we don't know what's happening in the other cities. It's like, you know what I mean? Nobody knows who made the auditions. Like, for instance, like I was the only DMV artist up there. It's like, mind you, but I don't know that until I get to New York. So I'm like headed up there. I'm like, damn, I wonder like if there's gonna be anybody else from the area up there. And I get up there, it's nobody else. But like I said, it's because a producer from the show found me and reached out to me. I don't know how he found me, but he reached out to me. You know what I mean? So it was like just one of those interesting opportunities. But
respect.
You know, TV.
Just so cool. You know, one time Faith Evans said that I was sexy. So.
Just got said I had soft hands.
Just saying.
I was at work, so I helped her down the steps. She was just like, hey, you got some soft
Faith Evans was like, yeah, Faith Evans was like, yeah, you cute. I was like, thank you.
Yeah, you know, you gotta take your random celebrity interaction when you can.
Oh no, I ain't never get no sexy though.
You said I ain't pretty good.
Hey, you fucking fool.
Handsome though. I got the handsome from Rihanna. One of Rihanna's best friends said I was handsome.
Oh, okay. What's her name?
No, not her.
The other one.
It was she got a gang. And I was just sitting outside the gym, and she was just like,
Rihanna's gang.
She woke up and she was just like, you security guard? I was like, yeah. She was like, you're handsome. And then she kept it moving, and I was just like,
come back.
No, I was just sitting there like, I was struck because I was just like, damn, that's Rihanna Mans.
You're super joke. I love how Cardi B calling Havana sexy has turned into you.
I mean, Faith Evans calls you sexy, right? Cute, whatever she said.
She did.
All right, then, boy, you ain't the only one.
We got the video.
Everyone can reminisce for 30 seconds.
Dark skin niggas, bruh. Fuck.
Wow, that was really colorless. It's crazy. It's
only
crazy.
Only my counterpart, right? You know what I'm saying? I fuck with y'all for real. Y'all my man. This nigga.
Before you leave Rapper Lex or Havana Seoul, however, I feel like I like Rapper Lex personally for myself.
I was gonna say, a lot of people, and even when I introduce myself, I'm always like, you can call me Lex, you call me Soul. I was like, I just let people pick what they want. Like, because it's a lot of people, like, for instance, like, I have friends that know me for a mad long time, but they'll never call me, like, they never call me Lex. They never call me Alexis. They always be like, you just Soul to me. Like, I can't even call you, like, I don't need, you know, it's like, they know my name. They just would never call me my name, ever. So I was like, you're just Soul. I don't know.
I respect that. Before you leave here, what do you need the people to know about you, and how can they reach and contact you, you know, to get more of this experience?
Well, shit. You can find Doggy Bag, the EP, on all streaming services. Also, Audio Mac, you know, for you niggas that need the freebie. You know,
man, she called y'all broke.
Nah.
She didn't say that. She said if you need the freebie.
You know, the free ski.
Oh, hold on. That was it reminded me. You said you trying to make sure you don't have to get no stimulus checks. You trying to get your money.
Oh, yeah, you know.
I felt that bar. That was another. What song was that on?
That's on Many Face God.
I really like that song
too.
Don't
need no stimulus. I'm from the middle, wasn't penniless.
That's what I'm saying. I like that.
That's like so when people be like, "Oh, Doggy Bag's not a story," you're like, "I don't hear the bars."
Okay.
I'm like, just go listen to Many Face God.
Let's
and like
go
I said, otherwise go listen to ATM. This ain't that project.
Let's go back to this not being a story. After this interview, after you said a few things, this joint is stamp a story.
Okay.
Because the first 2 songs, after you explained to us, they old tracks.
Yeah.
And then you have the
DMV
remaining
track.
3 that are somewhat new.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you recorded all of these joints, like by yourself in your house, in your own little studio. And then it's like a little to your new sound.
Yeah, a node. That's what we coming for.
And then the way that it's structured,
that's a good point.
it also is a story because you got a song that was not going to be heard by anybody.
Facts.
You got another song that was just like in the same way.
Yeah, it never got a full release. It was only on Audio Mac. You couldn't listen to it on Spotify. You couldn't find it on Apple. It wasn't on nothing else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you got WAP, which is...
You DMV niggas.
You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, and like I feel like that part, that joint,
Closer,
Walk
which
more
is
than like Closer and Many Face God, I feel like is more like a, because that's like, that to me is like the most like R&B track on there. You know, and it's not really an R&B track, but it's the closest thing to that on there. So like, yeah, like that's definitely a departure from my sound. Like you don't listen to like 1993 from ATM and then think I'm gonna make a song like Walk.
At all.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Like those are two very different things.
Like, say less. I like that.
But I think like I like testing that space. Like I said, like the feeling that like I got like after I did ATM and I dropped Girl and niggas was like, what is this? That's cool. Like I wasn't expecting this from you and it's cool. You know what I'm saying? I think like that's kind of the same vein that it's like I'll experiment with songs like Walk. Cause like I don't know if this gonna really be my bag. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'm gonna ever make a song like this again. But this was how I was feeling this day. And like I said, so like when I go into the studio, I only make what I'm inspired by. If I don't fuck with the beat or if I'm like, I like this beat, but this ain't the mood I'm in today, I'm not gonna touch it. Respect. I'll bookmark it, you know, I'll put it aside, I'll have it in this folder, but it's like I'll come back to it when I'm ready for it.
How do they get in contact with you? What they need to know about you?
Yes, you can find me all streaming, Havana Seoul. You can find that new Doggy Bag. You can listen to that old shit, that ATM. You want the old shit? Buy my old album, fool. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, all of that. Me Young Yum, also Havana Seoul. So if you search Havana Seoul, you'll find that. And
before we leave, did you want to take any parts of DMV rap conversations, talk, anything you have to say, anything on that nature, that front?
Oh, man. Nah, I'm like, honestly, I'm gonna say, I don't, like, what is there to say? Like,
it's on you. It's on you. I mean,
Al, you've been mad silent.
This is about you.
I'm about to say this. I forgot. I was like, how can we do a whole DMV artist? So say it.
Like honestly, it's like it's a little hard because it's like in the pandemic, it's like hard to assess like kind of like where local culture is at because a lot of local culture moves in the street. You know what I mean? So like for me, like I'm the type of person like I be real active, like, you know what I mean? Like, so more so than, like, niggas know me as a rapper, niggas know me as a creative, and niggas know me as somebody that's, like, around the DMV. So, like, if you be out on U Street, you see me. If you be out on DuPont, you see me. Like, if you be out at certain parts in D.C., you see me because I'm out and I be active. When the world was open, you know, I would have shows out. You know, I'd be at so-and-so happy hour. I'd be at whatever brunch. Like, I be out and I'm active. But, like, in terms of, like, music, I feel like that's hard to assess also because it's, like, with the DMV, it's like there's two different lanes because, you know, you got, like, you always gonna have the trap rap. And that is one, like, that's one DMV, you know, like, that's a particular style in a particular lane. And, like, that has its own kind of, like, hierarchy. Mm-hmm. And I really can't speak to that. Like I said, especially since the world not open. I haven't heard, like, you know, I couldn't even tell you who popping, like, right now in terms of, like, trap niggas.
No, listen to Lil Gray. To me, he's one of the best.
And, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, legit right now, like, once upon a time, I knew everybody out, but it's like right now, I really don't feel like I know a lot of the niggas that's out. That's why I'm like, damn, when we talk about the DMV rap, I really feel like I can't speak to that. What I will say is like, there's also a whole nother aspect of DMV rap, which is like artists like me, you know,
Super
artists like
Nike Nando.
Yeah, like Nando, but like not just Nando. It's like you got artists like Akeem, Mamiko, like one of my brothers. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of artists. Like you got people like Slice. You have people like you know, like you have people like there's so many people that don't fit into like what is
the sound.
Exactly like the DMV sound.
They don't sound like Shy Glizzy.
That's something that you got people like 20 Never. Like that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not Shy Glizzy. It's not that pocket flow. Yeah. It's not the run-on sentence flow. You know, like you said, like that is a like the trap flow. The DMV trap flow is like I feel like is what is known as like the DMV flow. Yeah, like all of that. But it's like there's a whole other side of artists. Like you got Mojo. You especially and it's like I'm bringing up especially like women rappers. You know, like that's why I'm mentioning Slice. That's why I'm mentioning Mojo because it's like there's a lot of talent outside of the like in the DMV that is not trap rap. You know what I mean? And I feel like so long, especially when it comes to like the DMV outside of the scene and what people look at it from a national level, and everybody looks at our trap rappers, but we have a whole nother wave of like really dope. You know, even you think of niggas that have made it out, like people like Brent Faiyaz, people like Rico Nasty. That's not none of that trap wave. Mm-mm. That's the whole other side of the DMV. You know what I mean? And what I would say is like there's a lot of artists that exist on like that side. You know what I mean? Like even people like Matt McGee. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's hella local artists that be mad
You've been working
deep.
For a minute too.
And that's what I'm saying. Like niggas like people like my friend Reggie, like it's mad people that have super deep catalogs that don't sound nothing like the DMV, quote unquote, like trap rap or the DMV flow that be putting on for the area. It's like what I'll just say, like, I'll encourage people to like experience all of the DMV, not just the trap flow, not just that pocket rap, not just the niggas that like have that particular like bounce. Like it's a lot of like eclectic. Like we opened this interview, your music sound eclectic, right? You know, it's a lot of artists that are on that eclectic wave here in the DMV, you know. And I just like
Young Gleesh. Because I feel like he's one of those people. He's one of those rappers that does the eclectic DMV flow type thing perfectly. Like he mashes it up greatly.
Exactly, and it's like that's a particular lane and that's a pocket. You know what I mean? I feel like the way I feel about Gleesh is like he kind of remind me of like what Key is to Atlanta. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's similar.
Nah,
you know what I mean? Like he's clearly and that's what I'm saying. And Key is like clearly like of Atlanta. You know, in the same way that Gleesh is like very clearly of DC, but it's not that glizzy flow. You know what I mean? It's not that trail flow. It's not like what you necessarily think of when you think of that pocket flow. But you can say like, oh yeah, like you've been around it. You like you know that, and you've been influenced by that, and then you kind of like went over here and like put your little sauce on it. You know what I mean? It's like I always appreciate that.
Okay.
Love it.
That's all
One
I
more
got.
time, Havana Seoul.
Salt.
Make some noise. Also, rapper Alexa for you niggas who do not know.
Right. Shout out to all my Mac niggas.
And UMD.
Right. And you.